Red Bull's new car design has made all the other teams worried because it looks like they're copying a car that's not even racing anymore. The Austrian team picked a design idea that Mercedes tried for 2 years but failed with. This is risky for Red Bull too. But after watching Red Bull test their car for the first 2 days, people started wondering, are they playing a smart game while everyone else is playing simple games? And will they beat Mercedes by proving their design can work, if you know how to get the best performance from it? Red Bull made a design that looks a lot like Mercedes' W14 car. It seems like the Austrian team thinks that by copying something different instead of their RB19 design, they could create a bigger gap between them and all the other teams. Adrian Newey talked about this first, saying that only by going this way would Red Bull not be in trouble. This is because every other car has been copying what seems to be gone now. This will make Red Bull's competitors guess a lot because they won't have an example car in front of them to copy ideas and improvements from. But what Red Bull chose, it isn't special. It has been on the racing track before. The question is, do they have something secret with this design? And if not, how will this affect making the RB20 and RB21 for the 2025 season? By picking the new design, Red Bull started a journey that will last for 2 years, just like any other team out there. Unlike the rest of the teams, the Austrian team still doesn't know if this design will work well for them. Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, and Aston Martin all know that the way they've been improving their cars since 2023, following a car that won 22 out of 23 races, will definitely be powerful. But compared to Red Bull's brand new idea, it could mean nothing again. They might be forced to chase something they think was a failure because of Mercedes. Experiment with it. The question that needs to be answered right away is, why didn't this idea work for Mercedes? And why does Red Bull think they can get lots of performance from it? The Silver Arrows couldn't get much performance from the zero-pod design because of technical problems with their car frame and gearbox. These parts didn't fit well with the car's airflow design. More exactly, the car had too much downforce at the back, which isn't good. Whenever the drivers tried to push harder and go to the limit, the car acted wobbly and weird. On the other hand, you have Red Bull, a team that people call masters of airflow in Formula 1. One thing they don't have is trouble adapting their car frame and body to this design. Yes, it will be challenging for them, but it's really the only choice they have to stay out of trouble when facing a bunch of cars that look exactly like the RB19. Many experts think the right way was to keep developing the RB19 because it had so much more potential in it. But Newey disagreed with this. He said the only way Red Bull could protect themselves in this time period was by chasing another design. The Mercedes one was the most attractive to the mastermind from Great Britain. On paper, the design Red Bull is chasing is the most powerful one for creating downforce, especially the zero pod that they will likely use from Japan onwards. The key is making a design that can control the amounts of rear downforce. This is unlike Mercedes, who had an uncontrollable amount of it. This created a very wobbly car that bounced with any small bump. On top of that, Red Bull's car frame has also been changed to fit this new design. This is why Marko has a lot of hope that they've set a new standard in the sport that will be blindly followed by the rest of the teams in the coming time. If they're able to do this, it's because they have also locked in with the RB19 way of thinking on their own. When talking about Red Bull's design, Marko also shared his worries along with a hope that's present in the team. He said the car is very, very impressive. We ran 142 laps on the first day without any problems and the idea is working, which was the first main thing. Whatever changes we did and whatever we tried, the car was responding well and more or less it was fine-tuning. What happened now is we're all smiling a lot. We couldn't avoid the moment when Verstappen was 0.8 faster than anybody else on the grid. The camera zoomed in on his race engineer Lombiasi, showing that the team might have found everything they need about the car. The season could very likely be over before it even started, as the fans described it shortly. But that would be jumping to conclusions very quickly, and we don't want to do that before we give credit to all the new things. Mercedes did that, worried Red Bull. We'll talk about this later in this video. Right now, Red Bull understands that it's a huge risk that they went for a design that not many people believed they would choose, but they were eventually forced to because of their success in the previous year. When talking about this matter, Marko added, I mean, it's always a risk, and if you look at Mercedes, they had some problems and our car was working from the very first lap, so we are very proud and glad. I think our rivals didn't expect what we would do. What should I say, the cars all look like ours from last year. The good news, according to Marko, is that if the rest of the teams decide to copy the design of the RB20, it would take a while and it won't be done overnight. This can be proven by the fact that the teams took an entire year to understand how the RB19 was such a winning machine, catching Red Bull themselves by surprise. Be that as it may, the zero-pod design of Red Bull that should be introduced from Japan onwards will go on to prove whether the Austrian team has put an exclamation point on the current airflow era. If they manage to do so, it's very likely that 2025 would go heavily in their favor. This is considering the fact that there will be 0 to no changes in the car's look for that season. The reason why Red Bull has chosen to go with the zero-pod design from Japan as the temperatures of the track. The first 3 tracks would have a bit of hotter air, and the inlets of the side pods need to stay vertical and open for the engine cooling. But once the cooler track comes in Japan, then the design would undergo a massive change. It would be very interesting to see whether Newey found something that Mercedes were unable to do in the past 2 years. But Red Bull themselves are also afraid of a new thing that came from the Silver Arrows, one that's been called legal by the FIA. This completely caught Pierre Wacht, the technical director of Red Bull, by surprise when talking about the front wing of Mercedes, one that has its third main part attached to the nose by using a carbon fiber wire. This will very likely create a lot of drama because of the recreation of the Y250 Vortex. Pierre Wacht added, Mercedes is surprising for me. Their idea is surprising. It's interesting, but interesting and legal are 2 different things. Just because it was labeled as legal by the FIA on the first try doesn't mean that the rest of the teams won't keep complaining about it. There's a lot at stake here because, if you think about it, Mercedes didn't chase the best performing setup on the car. They needed race pace performance data from the first 2 days of testing. This means they wanted to explore as much airflow and aerodynamic performance from the car as possible. They left the 3rd practice day for the softer tires and faster qualifying laps to be made. Russell himself said that this is the ultimate goal for the team right now, so you cannot really see what is the true potential behind this innovation. Back in 2020, Mercedes were outside the top 10 during the first couple of days of testing, and they went on to absolutely destroy their competition. Even though the story, it is quite different right now. The F1's technical director's belief is that there should be a ban applied to Mercedes' front wing. Not because it's illegal, but because of the fact it can turn into a trend that the rest of the teams will blindly follow. This will put a huge dent in the rulebook itself. However, it's worth noting that Wolff has a lot of confidence about the design of the front wing, because it has been brought to the grid after long discussions and talks with the FIA. Considering the fact that it affects the entire airflow and outwash of the car, it cannot be copied. This is due to the rest of the design already being matched with the rest of the team's current front wings. With this in mind, what do you think about Red Bull's new way of thinking? And more importantly, do you think they played everyone by making them chase the RB19 design while they would go on to dominate with something that every team said was bad because of Mercedes' failure with it? Let us know in the comments below.